Back now at 8:35 with a remarkable survival story. A small plane catches fire, forcing the pilot to bring it down in the Gulf of Mexico. In a moment, we're going to talk to him and his passenger. But first, their harrowing ordeal documented on an iPad. NBC's Janet Shamlian is in Baytown, Texas. Hey, Janet, good morning.
David, good morning to you. Yeah, when they took off from here at the Baytown airport, there were no concerns. The weather was great. The plane had been checked out, and this was a route that the pilot knew well. Well, fortunately, he also knew emergency procedures well because it became apparent at 11,000 feet they would not be landing in Florida as they had planned.
Okay.
This video from an iPad was taken by pilot Ted Wright just moments after he and a passenger survived a harrowing crash into the Gulf of Mexico.
We are hour one. We just had a plane crash in the Gulf of Mexico, and the iPad survived thanks to the life-proof case. There's Raymond.
Raymond Fosdick, Ted's best friend, had been in the passenger seat. The two were flying from Texas to Sarasota, Florida, on a route that would keep them over water almost the entire trip. They were 2 hours into the flight in this twin-engine Baron when suddenly smoke and flames filled the cabin.
Neither one of us were screaming, and there was no praying. There was no thinking the world was coming to an end.
But they knew they'd be ditching the plane in the Gulf, and after impact, they'd have to get out quick.
By the time I could reach down, undo my seatbelt, the water was up to my butt in the aircraft.
Just before the plane sank, Fosdick grabbed flotation equipment and an iPad.
We seem to be okay without injuries. The iPad is not injured.
Remarkably calm, they recorded the wait for help.
Which I believe we've been in the water for 1 hour now. No sign of the Coast Guard or any rescue emergency services yet. So we did have a fisher on the horizon. We tried to flag him down. We tried to signal him without any luck.
But their luck did change. After 3 hours and just before nightfall that would have made a rescue close to impossible, the Coast Guard pulled them from the swells.
Survivors at the rail.
Hopefully, this is the last recording because we will be soon. Signing out.
Now back on land, both men say they will fly again.
I have no hesitation climbing into another aircraft whatsoever. My wife, on the other hand, does not want me to do much.
Kind of hard to blame her for that. The Coast Guard says if you're going to ditch in the Gulf, these guys did it textbook. They activated the emergency beacon, they stayed calm, and it sounds like the iPad survived as well. David, back to you.
Janet Shamlian, thanks so much. Ted Wright and Raymond Fosdick are with us both exclusively. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you both, and good to hear a good outcome to this story. Theodore, I want to point out, you were coming up to New York for this interview in a brand new plane. You had some landing gear equipment you had to divert because of fog, and ultimately had to drive the rest of the way. You got to feel like you're a bit snake bit here at the moment.
I know. I'm wondering what I did to deserve all this, but it's all experience, and you have enough exposure, you get kind of go through all the experiences. But yeah, Teterboro was shut down, and I had to divert, and we had a bit of a gyro issue with the aircraft, but very minor compared to our story in the Gulf.
But what was one scarier than another in terms of facing an emergency like that?
I would say the Gulf incident was pretty scary. Being on fire, there's nothing like that.
So talk about that. You're flying along. You're over the Gulf. You start to see smoke and fire behind the instrument panel, right?
Yes, in the nose baggage area. Basically, we're flying along. I'm eating a bag of M&Ms. Check in with Houston Center, and then we see a little bit of smoke, which typically is not a huge deal. Usually a radio will smoke a little, you throw the electrical power off, everything's fine. I made a quick radio call to Houston Center, told them we had a problem. Before I finished the radio call, we were just covered in smoke.
Raymond, any question in your mind at that point that, okay, we're going to have to ditch this aircraft?
No, those decisions were being made pretty synonymous and pretty quickly between the two of us. That's pretty much what saved our lives, was being able to recognize the aircraft's lost. Now it's just save ourselves.
Right. Training goes into this, of course, Theodore. And we see it in this iPad video that you take, and you're taking great care to preserve the iPad and document all this. But you were poised, you were calm. I think a lot of people are going to find that amazing. Obviously, training's a big piece of that.
Training is a big part of it. No pun intended. You kind of go into autopilot in those situations and just run through the procedures. The iPad, obviously, I have it everywhere with me, and we grabbed it on the way out of the airplane. About hour one, I realized we had it, and you get kind of lonely out there. We ran out of things to talk about, so we made a quick video, which of course you've seen now.
And it did take a while for the Coast Guard to actually reach you. I mean, it was close to sundown. Were you starting to get concerned about how much longer you could have survived out there?
Absolutely. People ask us, were you worried? Well, we weren't worried at all. And we knew they had 3 position reporting devices. They could find us. But when the first aircraft passed over our heads and they didn't see us and we're waving, and they still don't see us, and we're watching the sunset. The second aircraft shows up. They don't see us. Yes, we started to get nervous.
How much fear enters into this?
Fear definitely plays a role. I won't lie and say I didn't have any fear. There was definitely back there. However, because of experience, because we've been in stressful situations, we were both remaining calm, and you begin looking at your options. And even though they're very bleak and grim out there with, you're in the middle of nowhere. We did spot an oil rig just over the horizon, and it becomes one of those things of, okay, if it gets dark and they leave, what are we going to do?
Right.
So there was some fear involved, but it wasn't enough to overpower our patience.
Your plane you used to support a group called Around the World for Life to give plane rides to kids with cancer. Will you get another plane?
Yes, actually, I already have another aircraft, so we're going to continue the Around the World flight, and nothing's changed except the tail number. So we will continue.
So back in the air, feeling undaunted.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, it's good to see you both here, and thanks to your good thinking and your training. So congratulations on that. Glad you were both here. Ted Wright and Raymond Fosdick.